Welcome to CivilNet. My guest is Alexander Iskandarian, who heads the Caucasus Institute, and with whom we cross paths occasionally as we talk to international delegations here and conferences out there. And often the topic that faces us is, of course, Karabakh and peace and negotiations. And I want to talk to you today about all of that, Alek, in the context of all of the new, PR is maybe too mellow a word, all of the new Azerbaijani approaches to commemorating Khojalu. I have spent this last weekend reading everything I can about the atrocious events in Khojalu, as if the rest of war is, simple and noble and fair and good, and there was one atrocious event. This PR campaign is going internationally, Moscow, Washington, Istanbul, at the same time as we're ostensibly talking about peace and negotiating. What's happening? What's this penchant for a new reality on the ground? What's happening? What is the Azerbaijani approach? And thank you for coming.
Thank you. They're not guilty that they have to negotiate. And what about I would call it propaganda. It's part of the war, of Cold War. They are, or were losers. And they should to say something first to their society, to Azerbaijanis, to Azerbaijan, and second to international community. Nothing new in dehumanizing your enemy, constructing new mythologies or new history. They have Genocide Day, they have Khojalu, commemoration of Khojalu, they have all this history. I don't mean history as a history, but history as a text. History of the Azerbaijani suffering from Armenia, etc. Unfortunately, it's part of situation in the region.
But it's been 20 years, and instead of trying to go towards more tolerant speech, towards some prospect of, look, folks, one day we're going to live together one way or another, this, 50,000 Turks on the streets of Istanbul because Armenians lie, don't trust Armenians. What are they doing? How is any of that going to lead any of us to a compromised solution?
It is a different thing. 50,000 Turks on the streets of Istanbul. It's not about Azerbaijan, Armenia. It's about Turkey, Armenia. It's about France. It's about genocide. It's about such kind of things. The background of these protests there is Turkish. It's Armenian question or Armenian problem, how do you call it? It's a question of internal Turkish policy.
I think you're being too tolerant. You don't think it's Azerbaijan, again, the tail wagging the dog. It's Azerbaijan saying, look,
Absolutely.
your policy is going to
be... Absolutely, yeah, they're doing it. But it works because of situation in Turkey
because
as well.
Because of the context.
Because of the context. I'm fond of, I very like this ancient Persian Roman, if I'm not mistaken. You don't have text without context.
Yeah.
Why Khojalu?
I'm sure there's no Armenian for that.
Why Khojalu? Why not Sumgait or Kirovabat or Baku or, I don't know, Stepanakert?
Why aren't we creating that text?
Why not Vartenis, etc.? Unfortunately, that type of war was different from, for example, Second World War. When Germans came, they killed soldiers, they killed communists, they killed, Jews, but people lived there, Polish people, Ukrainian, etc. You don't have Armenian population in Azerbaijan
anymore,
and you don't have Armenian population, Azerbaijani population in Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. It was not just war of armies; it was war of populations as well. You had ethnic cleansings. So Khojalu is just one episode of the whole story. But if you are Azerbaijani, especially if you are an authority, and you lost the war, and especially after 2008 Russia-Georgian war, when nobody really believed that somebody will come and resolve your problem, and you cannot. And 20 years you talk to your people, in 20 years, you say that tomorrow we'll sell our oil, we have a lot of money, we have a lot of weapons, and we will resolve the problem in 2 days. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 20 years. So you should to say something.
But the something that they're saying is counterproductive. In other words, if this is supposed to go to a solution that is negotiated, that is based on some sort of compromise, both sides have to give. Now, we know both sides see themselves as victims. The Azeris see themselves as victims because they lost a military conflict. We see ourselves as victims because we don't feel secure, because we've always felt like we were victims. In that environment, the more they victimize themselves, the more message they're giving to their population that Armenians have to give. Azerbaijan, have nothing to give.
I had to begin with this. Solution, if you understand solution of problem as compromise, is not goal of Azerbaijan at all. It's not real goal. When they say we are agree on compromise, they mean back to situation before 1988.
True.
It's not solution.
True.
So if you don't need solution,
And you don't need compromise.
but you don't need compromise at all. You negotiate because they push on it.
The international.
They are big guys. United States, France, Europe, Russia, doesn't matter. So you negotiate because they push on. I'm afraid that if in the world you would have just Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Karabakh, no negotiations would be, nobody press on it. So, but the conflict, the rhetorics, the talkings about the dehumanizing is very instrumental.
For
You use
their
it
internal use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
because I
You
don't
can
live
use
there,
it.
I'm not thinking of internal use. I'm thinking of how do we get past this absurd situation where every year the relationship, the public noise about the relationship becomes worse instead of just a little bit more tolerant.
It's not a question or problem of Karabakh conflict. It's problem of changing of Armenian and Azerbaijani societies. When and if societies will change in Azerbaijan, in Armenia, in Nagorno-Karabakh, that time talkings about real solutions or compromises or how do you call it, would be possible. Maybe now even I cannot imagine that type of solution that they can propose in, I don't know, 50 years. But now situation is different. You have this zero-sum game psychology, and in this psychology, dehumanization of the enemy is very logical, is very rational, and what they are doing is part of politics, which is very clear and nothing strange.
My guest is Alexander Iskanderian, being very logical about what has become an amazing Azerbaijani propaganda campaign that just takes on more momentum, it seems, every year, and creates a situation where, on the one hand, the Azerbaijani government claims the right to sovereignty over that territory and those people, but at the same time vilifies them, demonizes them, and reduces the whole thing, as you say, to a zero-sum game. So do you have any wise words in conclusion, or is this just the game we're going to be playing for a while?
I don't know, is it wise or not, but I would like to, maybe I forget to add something. Before, I came from Karabakh just several days ago. Before they understand, they see Karabakhis, they all can see Azerbaijani TV, the elder population, they know their language, etc., etc.
The Armenians of Karabakh.
Armenians of Karabakh, yes. They see that Azerbaijanis need Karabakh as territory, not as people. They don't need them. So working that way, Azerbaijanis working just vice versa, what you're talking about, compromises, etc. How long they will continue to talk that way, how long we will have prolongation of the situation. Is it good or bad? I don't know.
On that not very hopeful note, my guest was Alexander Iskanderian. You're watching CivilNet. Thank you.
Thank you very much.